T, or Transforming Enterprise Application, is a product suite that is a process of extending your current business applications to be modernized in a new web page design. There are 3 videos that will step through the design of a new graphical user interface. This is the 2nd video of the series and will show the developer how to build forms to interact with an existing application. The application used to redesign is Microsoft Calculator, or calc.exe. It is important to note that we are not rewriting the Calculator program, but rather building a new graphical user interface. The calc.exe program will be launched by T in a virtual state, and the new T user interface will interact with the calc.exe program.
In the previous video, we demonstrated how to create the class definitions for the Windows Calculator application using the T editor. We'll now use that class definition in a custom application to drive the Calculator program. I've opened up a copy of Visual Studio to create my new application. You don't need to use Visual Studio. You can use any editor or compiler that supports the .NET framework. We'll start by creating a new project, a Visual C# project, Windows application, and I'll give it a new name. And that brings up a blank form for our project. We can add some controls to that. A couple of buttons. And that's it. Not very fancy, but that's all we need to demonstrate the Calculator application. Let's define the properties for our buttons on the form. For this button, we will use to launch Calculator. This button will do the calculation. And the text box we will use to display the results. Good. And close this. For new projects, you will need to do 2 things before you can start using the T engine. The first is to add a reference to the T Win32 engine. And the second would be to add any classes that you generated using the T editor. In this case, the Calculator class. Now we're ready to start adding some code behind our form to drive the Calculator application. I'll start by adding a reference to the T Win32 namespace, and this will make it easier to reference the Calculator class in our project. I'll give it a global name, CALC, so we can reference that object throughout the demonstration. Let's go back to the buttons for a minute, and if I double click on a button, it will open up the editor and create the, in this case, the click event for that button. What we want to do, we some more space, is Launch Calculator when this button is clicked. Notice when I press the period, the properties and methods that are available to the calculator class appear in the IntelliSense window in Visual Studio. What we can use is the launch command line method from our class to invoke the calculator application. Let's give this a try to make sure everything is in place. Here's my form, click launch, and up comes calculator. Good. Let's work on the Do Calc button next. Go back to my form, double click this, and now I have the event for the calculation button. Navigate down to, this is where all the buttons are that we defined in the editor. Notice that button 1, if you recall, we added a comment, and now that comment appears in the IntelliSense window from Visual Studio. This is a good way to add some reminders about each of the controls. So we'll say button 4, and we can use the click event to click that button. It sends a Windows message to do a left mouse button click. And let's multiply that. Click that button. And pick another number. And get the result. The equals. There's our equation to display the result. In our form, text results, edit control, we'll assign the text to the text edit control in calculator. So here we have the equation 4 times 5 equals, and if everything works properly, we'll get the number 20 in our results box. Let's give this a try. Here's my form, launch, and do the calculation. Good. We have the result, 20, which is what we expected. The Windows application will take the messages as fast as it can process them. So you won't see the individual buttons being clicked, but indeed they are. You can tell by the result that we got. As with most applications, there are often several ways to accomplish the same thing. In Calculator, I can use the mouse to enter an equation, 4 times 5 equals, or I can use the keyboard and press the corresponding keys to get the same results. I'll show you how to use the keystroke method in T to do the same type of thing with Calculator. Let's close this down, go back to our project code, and remove this for now, and type the following. Here, T has what is known as a send keys method that will send a string of keystrokes to the Windows applications. So instead of doing all the mouse clicks above, I can say 4 times 5, and I'll do a different equation just to show you that it does indeed work. 4 times 5 equals, and that should give us the result of 100. Let's give this a try. Form, launch calculator, and do the calculation. Again, although this is a very simple demonstration, it does show how easy it is to use the editor and the generated class definitions to control an external program. And remember that the program does not need to reside on the same PC or the same desktop as your T application. We could have run the calculator application from a remote server over the network. We can also control the program from a web page over the internet, and this is what I'll show you in the next video.